This is the new Pigments 3 synthesizer from Arturia. Find out why I've used words like massive, incredible, and outstanding to describe this synthesizer in this video. Hi folks, I'm Mike, and I hope you're well. I've been trying out the new version of Pigments from Arturia, Pigments 3, and absolutely loving it. Now the good news is, if you're a current owner of Pigments, you can upgrade to the new version absolutely free. Thank you, Arturia, for that. Now if you're a new user, the great news is you can buy it at the moment for 50% off, so now is the time to buy. So let's take a look at this new synthesizer from Arturia and see what's new. So for those of you already familiar with Pigments, you'll know that we create sounds by blending together two different sound engines. Now you can think of an engine as a methodology for creating your core sound before you go ahead and adapt it in different ways. Now up until now we've had three different engine types available, those being the analog, wavetable and sample engines. All of those are great in their own right. You should definitely check them out. But with version 3 of Pigments, we now have the harmonic type of engine available. Now I've got a really simple example of this set up for you now. It sounds like this. In fact, it's the most simple example because right now I haven't added any harmonics, and of course that's the core thing we do with the harmonic engine. Now that's done with the partials control over here, and as I add more partials or harmonics, you'll hear that the sound gets more and more aggressive. Let's have a listen. And if we go all the way up to the top with a value of 512, I'll just play a short note and you'll hear how aggressive that sounds now. Okay, so I'll just pull that back to around about sort of 10 or 11 or so we get a sound like this. Of course, one of the cool things that we can do with Pigments is modulate our settings. We can do that on the partials control here by clicking on the plus button here. Now I'm going to start off by modulating this with an LFO. So I'll go over to LFOs here. I'm going to use this LFO here, LFO1, and I'll just blend it in just a little here. Now what that's going to do now is sort of modulate or animate the level of partials that we've got with our sound. So let's play that now and you'll hear it changing as we play it. We can change the rate down here, for example, so it's like this. And so on and so forth. There's lots of different ways that we can actually modulate our sounds. We'll look at another one or two in a moment. So I'll just set that back down to 0 there. Now, if I play that sound again and you look at the display there, you'll see that the each of the harmonics which is added decreases in volume at a kind of a very uniform rate. Let's have a look at that. You can see that here. And that makes for a reasonably sort of boring sound. So let's go ahead and start to change that. And there's different ways that we can change that. The first way that we can do is with this shape control over here. What that does is it just changes the balance between the odd and even harmonics. So I'm just going to change that as I play my note again, and you'll definitely hear the difference. It sounds like this. Okay, so just for fun, let's actually modulate that using the function down here. I've got function number 1 set up here. I'll just blend it in and let's have a listen to what we have at the moment. It's kind of pulsating. Let's make that a lot more interesting. I'll just sort of start to add in a few nodes here, very randomly doing this. I've got no idea how it's going to sound. And let's see how this sounds now. Okay, I'll just increase things here in terms of the amount which is being added. So we start to see the balance between those odd and even harmonics changing there as we use that function. So let's actually get rid of that and look at some different ways that we can also change that again. I'll use the tilt control this time. You can see that in action. It sounds like this. Okay, so it's really just changing that rate of decrease there in terms of the volume of each of those harmonics. Now, another way that we can change things, which gets a little bit more complex and much more interesting, is to use these spectrums over here. We've got two different ones to choose from, spectrum A, spectrum B here, and we can blend those together. We're going to start off with spectrum A, and I'll use this W comb one here. Now, we can't see anything at the moment because we haven't really added it. We add it using the depth control. So let's do that. Now we're getting a lot less uniform up here. Another thing we can do is sort of change the starting and end points here using the section control. Now that would be an awesome one, wouldn't it, to modulate? You can hear that right away there. And then the next thing I want to do is actually use the second spectrum. I'll make that a lot more complex with the resonant A. I'm just going to change this morph control so that we're only hearing spectrum B. This sounds like this now. Let's change the depth. Okay, you can see it changing the harmonics up there. And let's just move that section. Okay, and then we can blend those two together. So we can use the morph there to blend the spectrum A and spectrum B together, like so. You can see the effect and hear the effect now. Now, the other thing that we can do as well, if we've got, and we're going to hear it if we've got a reasonable distribution of odd and even harmonics, so I'll just change that like so, is we can actually do some imaging with the harmonics. Now, there's three different methodologies for that: the split, random, and periodic. I'm just going to look at the split one at the moment so you can kind of hear what's going on. Essentially, what I can do is take the odd harmonics and I could just change their panning. Let's put them all the way over to the left there, and I'll put the even all the way over to the right. I'll just move that. And if you're listening in stereo on good speakers or headphones, as you should be, then you will hear that. If you're listening on your phone, you're not going to hear that at all. So that's some of the ways in which we can start to change this sound in this very simple example. And it's not the greatest sound in the world so far. So let's just take a look at a couple of the presets which come with Pigments, which make use of this harmonic engine. By the way, are you finding this video useful so far? If you are, go ahead and hit the like button for me. Do it right away so that you don't forget. And also, if you do like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified about my other videos. Now, back to this video. So as we said before, sounds in Pigments are made up using these two engines with their 4 different engine types. But there's something new in Pigments 3 which makes this release even more massive, and that is the introduction of a 3rd engine. Now, it's a bit different to the other two. We don't have those 4 types to choose from, but it's nonetheless a cool feature. So here I have this sound set up. Let's have a listen. And it's using 2 wavetable engines here, engine 1 and engine 2. But we can see now that we've got a 3rd engine over here, the utility engine, which is currently turned off. I'll switch it on. Now we can see that there's 1, 2, 3 different parts to this, 2 noise elements and an oscillator. So let's switch off the last 2 there and listen to this first noise one. Now what I'm going to do is switch off the first 2 engines temporarily, that wavetable there and that wavetable there, so we can only hear this noise section to the utility engine. Now I'm going to select an actual noise. There's lots to choose from here. I'll go through. Let's go. I'm just choosing these at random. Let's go for birds. I haven't heard this one before. Let's see what it's like. I'll just play a note on my keyboard. Okay, I guess that's kind of interesting. Probably not what I'm looking for. So let's go for another one. I'll go to Atmos and go to Ghost. Okay, let's have a listen to this one. Okay, that could work for me, I think. So I could add that to this sound. I think it might sound okay. Now, at the moment, it's looping because I've got this loop button switched on here. But what I can do is turn that off and then change the length of the sample. It's just going to play once. So I'll just make it pretty short. Let's have a listen. Okay, even shorter than that. So it's like a little, not a snap, but a very short sound. So, yeah, that's okay. Okay, maybe that is pretty good there. Let's have a listen. That's cool. We can, of course, tune it. But I'll just set it back to 0 there. And we can also change the low and high pass filters. Of course, you can have fun and modulate these things, as mentioned earlier, as well. Now, what I'm going to do is just keep this as a basic sound. It's not going to change pitch. But I could, of course, switch this on so it changes pitch as I play out the keyboard. I'm just going to leave it as it is for the moment. So we've just got this little sound added at the beginning of our main sound. Okay, we can change the volume over here. We'll mix it in a moment. But I'll just switch those two first engines on and have a listen. Okay, I like that just as it is. That's fine. Let's go on and add another noise in. We'll switch that on. Let's choose. Let's go for After the Fire. We'll just select that. I'm just going to switch everything else off again so I can hear what's going on with After the Fire. It sounds like this. Okay, that's very nice indeed. I like that a lot. I'm just going to change the filter on this. Yeah, that's nice. It's just a little low growl. So we'll switch our first noise back on. We're getting something much more sinister now, hey? And we'll switch those first two engines on. Okay. Probably not the perfect sound, but we'll run with it for now. Now, the last one, and it's really, really important, is the oscillator. I'll switch these noises off for a moment. We'll play our regular sound without the oscillator. Have a listen. And then we'll switch this oscillator on. Let's have a listen now. Now, of course, it's tuned down a whole octave there, so that's what's giving everything a little bit more depth. We can choose different oscillator types. We can see them here. But I'll keep it on the first one there. And of course, we can do things like send it off to different filters. So over here, we can blend between filter 1 and filter 2. I'm not sure it's going to make an awful lot of difference at the moment, but we'll have a listen anyway. A little bit there. So there's lots and lots of options there. We can add all three together, and now we've got that third engine there making this sound. So apart from those two incredible new features with Pigments 3, there's a whole bunch of other features as well, which I'm just going to very quickly run through and make you aware of now. First of all, we have an astounding 64 new wavetables added for those of you who like your wavetable synthesis. They can be found if you go up here when you're choosing your wavetable type under Pigments 3. And as I say, 64 of those new ones for you to choose from there. Add even more variation to your sounds. We also have a new low pass filter. So if we go up here, we can see it here. This is the Dupe 8 filter. A lovely filter to use, incredibly useful. And then we also have 4 new effects. So if we go over to the effects section, I'll go to where we choose them here. You can see one of them is already chosen there. It's called multiband. We also have this delay here, which is a pitch shift delay. We also have chorus June 6, and we have also BL20. This is a flanger, really nice flanger. So there's a bunch of new things for you to choose from there, and a whole bunch of tutorials. If you open up the tutorials section, you can see them over here. Now the tutorials section with Pigments is really incredibly useful. If you're starting from scratch especially, and you really don't know much about synthesizers and creating your sounds, especially with Pigments, definitely follow through the tutorials. They're really well done and they'll get you up to speed very quickly indeed. So what do you think? Will you be upgrading if you're a current Pigments user and getting stuck into the new features of this synthesizer? Will you be buying it if you're a new user? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you think. Also check out the descriptions for some more details on this product. While you're in the description, check out my links to my patreon.com, where for as little as $1 per month, you can help me help you by making more videos like this. And I'll see you in the next video.